This is episode 626. Today we're going to be talking about or asking, contemplating, reflecting on, are you afraid of success? The idea that some people can be afraid of success sounds really strange to many people. Most of the time it's, fear of failure, not fear of success. Fear of failure is easier for most people to comprehend, but fear of success? And it's a very interesting concept because it manifests in different ways, which I'll get into. But this really just sounds crazy, right? How can anybody be afraid of success? And there are some underlying stories that individuals tell themselves about this. After all, who wouldn't want to be more successful? Who wanted to have, healthier physique, more loving relationship, more income, more time to travel? I mean, who wouldn't want all those things? Maybe, perhaps you. Fear of success is a common obstacle to consistent and lasting success. When we look at fear of something, it usually shows up as a lack of action. When we're afraid to fail, we usually don't take action. Well, the same thing can happen with success. When we're afraid of success, we may not take action. But people are often masters at achieving 90% of their goal only to throw it all away in the last moment, right? I mean, we've been taught this since grade school, right? You get all A's but a D. The teachers, the parents focus on the D. Why didn't you get the D? And so we've been kind of conditioned throughout life to be afraid of getting 100%. I mean, you get 100% in all your class, all your tests at school. Your peers pick on you, and they call you teacher's pet, and all sorts of other small little remarks that add up. And so it's easier just to achieve 90% of our goal and be with the status quo than it is to be 100% and stand out. Fear of success has multiple components and symptoms, which we're going to go over a few of the higher level ones here today. Let's see, check this out. Check these out to see if perhaps fear of success is lurking in the shadows of your mind. Fear of change. This is huge. If you have listened to my podcast or watched my video on the complacent zone, we have this mental line of support, mental line of resistance, and this is where our life goes in between, in between, in between. Outside that mental line of resistance, or as other people talk about, is your comfort zone, is change. You have to change to break out of it. Well, here's the interesting thing. When we identify so much with our limitations, when I say we, meaning our ego identifies with these limitations. Oh, I can only make 100,000 a year. Oh, I'm always a person who's 20 pounds overweight. Oh, I'm destined to be alone. That is us identifying those limitations with ourselves. And if we're presented with an opportunity to change that, we don't know who we would be. Our story would be gone. Our excuses would be gone. The reason for our lack of motivation, inspiration, any of those things you want to call it, would be gone. So the fear of change itself, this has been talked about in Psycho-Cybernetics, the book, and elsewhere, is that when we identify so closely with who we are, whether it's, oh, I'm always an angry person, I'm always this, I'm always lazy, I'm always late. When we start using these defining terminology that's based on the ego, we are building up more and more and more resistance to change because many people do not know who they would be after the change. I know I was talking to a couple of clients, and one of the topics they wanted to have was help with is weight loss, is get rid of, get healthy again. And the person kept getting stuck, and we drilled down, we drilled down, we drilled down, and it turned out this person didn't know who they would be if they got fit and healthy because all their friends were overweight. So they were afraid of losing their friends. They were afraid of their family because again, their family was overweight or their friends were overweight. And so this fear of who will I be without this overweightness, this change was debilitating and paralyzing. The other thing is when we are successful, then we have more to be responsible for. And a lot of us are like little kids, right? We don't want to be responsible for just we don't want to be responsible for anything else, just our small little world, just making my $300 a month car payment, making my, $2,000 a month rent or mortgage. That's it. I don't want any more responsibility. I don't want to be able to responsibility of determining a budget and how to save money and giving it to charity or even having the responsibility of now of getting a different physique um, and having that responsibility of people asking me how I got it, maybe new clothes, maybe new things. So there's a whole bunch of different type of responsibility when we achieve success. And again, success is in the eyes of the beholder, meaning you could have a successful relationship and perhaps you got a deeper or you want to have a deeper relationship with your significant other, but that would mean opening up more. That would be being more vulnerable. That would be being honest with your feelings. And that, in a sense, is greater responsibility of being your authentic self. And it's like, nope, it's easier. I'm just going to hide behind this facade and just go along my merry way. So, change is one of them. Greater responsibility is another. And then fear of standing out. Again, we go back to school, grade school, junior high, high school. If we get all A's and we're success, then we're going to stand out in front of our class. The teachers may acknowledge us and say good job, but then everybody else is going to feel less than because we are doing more than. And then we'll get ridiculed and have those verbal tomatoes thrown at us, even at work. If we're in sales and we continue to achieve great results, our sales team may be envious, jealous, hateful of us because we're standing out, and we don't want to stand out because we want to have friends. We want to be in a community that can support us. And if we have success, we're going to stand out of the crowd, whatever that looks like. So these are three really good motivations for being afraid of success. So, those that fear success also show several symptoms, right? So those are some of the underlying beliefs and underlying motivations, but how they manifest is self-sabotage. You know, you're going to hit your sales quota, maybe bust it out of the water, and then you decide to take a few days off and go on vacation or do something, and then you don't make the sale, the client goes someplace else, and you fall short. There's all sorts of ways. If we're on a nutrition program, we look at it, oh, it's Cinco de Mayo coming up. I'm going to have a bunch of tacos, tortillas, maybe some cervezas, and then some whatever, and then we self sabotage. So a lot of this shows up when you think you're getting close to something and you self sabotage. That could be a really good sign of fear of success. Changing goals. You start off, oh, I'm going to go after this goal, and you get there, you start going, halfway, three-quarters of the way, this doesn't inspire me anymore. Let me go for something else. And if you continually change goals, that would be a really good sign of fear of success, because if you keep changing goals, you'll never hit them. You'll never be successful. So in some way, changing goals constantly, regularly, can be a sign of being afraid of success. Procrastination is another one. Again, procrastination is almost like, well, I don't want to, I don't want to, they call it fear of failure, people, but in reality, it's fear of success. So they take no action because either way, they get failure, right? If you don't take action, you're failing anyway. And if you don't take action, you will never succeed. And people will just, if they get so frightened, they'll think of 1,000 excuses. Well, I have to brush my dog's teeth. I have to take my cat out for a walk. I have to plant the garden. They'll find 1,001 things to do besides going after the goal they wanted. So take a look at yourself. If you have some self-sabotaging things in your life going on, you change your goals, you procrastinate, that may be a symptom of being afraid of success. So we can manage fear of success. Best way is get a coach like me. But it can be managed. So here's a couple of techniques you might want to embrace and consider. Determine the cause. I mean, often this can go back, to our parents, that we are afraid of being more successful than our parents. That issue has been diminishing, but it still is there, especially if our parents are alive. Or it could be, determine the cause. It could be being more successful than our sibling, our older sibling. But when you think about it, is what is really the cause going here? This is where a coach comes in real handy, is figuring out what the root cause is for your being afraid of success. The other thing is you can notice how fear changes your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So when you start going after a goal, you sit back and think about, okay, if I accomplish this, what would happen? And then you're going to see your maybe some energy changing, maybe some thoughts, some behaviors, but you have to pay attention. This would be like mindfulness, right? So notice how the fear itself, when you think about it, well, I'm not afraid. Well, if you aren't afraid, you would have accomplished it already. And we know there's 1,000 reasons why you didn't, which is self-sabotage. So take a look at how the fear of this success changes your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and really dive into it. Again, this is where a coach comes in very handy. And then face your fears, right? If it's fear of standing out, become successful and see the different people who embrace you and see the different people who let you go. When you start improving and becoming successful, there's a group for you waiting after you become successful. And there's a group that's going to say goodbye to you when you become successful, regardless of what that looks like. But facing your fears, leaning into them, developing the mental strength, and the fears will go away. As soon as you start taking action towards your goals, towards your dreams, your fears will start going away. So keep in mind that if you're not sure why success seems to be eluding you, consider the possibility that you are afraid of success, and not afraid like a little kid, but these underlying fears of what's going to happen. What is my life going to look like? What am I going to look like? Am I still going to have my friends? How will I find new friends? What will I do? All of the things that we cover, just consider that, right? And do you have any of these symptoms? Go back and write these down, print it out. Go over this over again and over again. Get a coach. Work with it. Work with a coach. Are these symptoms coming up? How successful do you think you've been to this point in your life, and what has got you here, and what is holding you back? Are you underachieving perchance? I think we all are underachieving. So that's a given. And then what can you do to become not an overachiever, but what can you do to help reach your full potential? A fear of success makes sense when you consider the source of that fear. We understand it. I don't want to stand out. I want to get picked on, whatever that might be. And when you understand that, then you can move forward with it. However, what makes sense isn't necessarily the most desired option. We can make all excuses, and they all make sense to us because that's the story we are telling ourselves. But those stories are holding you back from the desired option, the desired results that you want. So you have to keep looking into that. And, overcoming your fear of success and achieving the greatness you deserve is in your hands. Well, it's in your mind. And when you can get past that fear that's holding you back, start taking action and understand that you deserve it. If you're married, your family deserves it. You deserve the success that you're looking for. Your family deserves you to be successful. So eliminate the excuses, start taking action, and achieve that success that you've been desiring. If you want to see the show notes on this podcast, you can find them at warriormindcoach.com. While you're over there, you can find some more information on blogs and podcasts and how to get in contact me with a breakthrough session. And since you'll be on the internet, please follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all under Warrior Mind Coach.